Hello there, time travelers. Come along. We have an eventful day ahead of us. We're starting off by going back to 1804 when Benjamin Disraeli, a British statesman and novelist who was twice Prime Minister, the first time in 1868 and the second time in 1874 to 1880, was born today. The Battle of Versailles began between British and Czech forces during the First Czech War. Please excuse me if I'm not saying that correctly. This happened in 1845. In 1864 brought us General William Tecumseh Sherman, capturing Savannah, Georgia during his march to the sea in the American Civil War. On this day in 1898, having recently discovered polonium, future Nobel Prize winner Marie Ampère Curie discovered the radioactive chemical element radon. Radium? I think that's how you pronounce it, radium. A silvery white metal that would be used to treat cancer, which is surprising. That something that was radioactive would be used to fight something else. But hey, that's the history of medical, right? American professional baseball catcher Josh Gibson, one of the game's most prognatic home run hitters, known as the Black Babe Ruth, was born in 1911. Just 2 years later, in 1913, the New York World published its first modern crossword puzzle, and I think that was when it was known as the New York World instead of the New York Times. 1937 brought us the classic animated movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, premiered establishing Walt Disney as one of the world's most interactive and creative movie makers. Moving right along to 1945, when U.S. General George Patton, known as the Old Blood and Guts by his men, passed away following an automobile accident in Germany. The Soviet Union expressed its willingness to negotiate with the U.S. on control of atomic materials. This event happened in 1953, near the start of the Cold War, which was from March 12, 1947 to December 25, 1991. Charles de Gaulle was elected president of the French Fifth Republic in 1958 in France. I know I already said French once. And for the baseball fans, 1958 also brought the New York Giants defeating the Cleveland Browns 10-1 in a playoff for the Eastern Division title of the National Professional Football League. Okay, I mislabeled that one. I should have said for my sports fan. Goes to show you how much I actually pay attention to sports. Just 10 years later, in 1968, Apollo 8 was launched from Cape Kennedy, also known as Cape Canaveral, and eventually completed 10 lunar orbits, which essentially means that it orbited our moon 10 times. Now, the next event, I remember hearing about either this event or one that was similar. In 1988, Pan Am Flight 103 exploded over Lockerbie, Scotland, becoming a terroristic bomb. Or, I'm sorry, because of a terroristic bomb. In 2003, the government of Libya accepted responsibility for the explosion and in 2004 agreed to compensate the families of the victims. More on this event. The explosion killed 259 passengers and crew members and 11 people on the ground. I'm guessing the 259 passenger and crew were actually aboard the Pan Am flight. And the 11 people that were on the ground were, like I said, on the ground. Bomb fragments were found in the wreckage, and Abril Bassett Ali Mohammed al-Magret of Libya is later convicted of having placed the bomb in a suitcase. That almost sounds like what would have happened with the U.S. airlines after 9/11. 1991 brought us massive flooding on December 21st and 22nd throughout much of eastern Texas, and that followed 5 days of torrential downpours. At least 15 deaths, including 4 traffic fatalities, are blamed on the weather. The storm caused millions of dollars of property damage. Now, property damage could be cars, homes, businesses, things of that matter. 2004 is when astronomers announced that a NASA satellite, the Galaxy Evolution Explorer, has found, to their surprise and delight, some 36 massive, recently formed stars that may resemble their own Milky Way galaxy in its youth. It has been thought new galaxies were no longer being created. And this is what happens with science. Like space travel, they go out into the galaxy, outer space, and they discover new things. Like, I forget exactly when they named Pluto, but I know it did not complete an orbit since it was discovered. And that amount of time that it was discovered, they realized that Pluto actually was not a planet. It was just a massive space rock or ice ball or whatever that happened to be orbiting the sun. Which I don't understand because you have Mercury, same thing, but it's not like ice, if you will. Like almost all of our planets that are solid are essentially space rock, including Earth. Moving on to 2007, when Japan agreed, after being pressed by the US and Australia, to suspend its plans to kill 50 humpback whales in that season. 2012 brought us the music video for South Korean singer PSY's humorous pop song Gangnam Style became the first video on YouTube to garner 1 billion views. American astronaut Bruce McCandless II, the first person to conduct an untethered free flight in space, passed away at the age of 80 in 2017, which will bring us back to our current history of 2023 and our current history. Until my next video.